Oh, I got to turn my music off. Whoopsie. So we've been just shooting the breeze here at Q&A time and AMA and all that. And I kind of netting this out into a question so I can talk about it. But the fundamental core of the question is, what is the best team building activity? And somebody actually shared that they, here, let me see if I can read it. I joined a new team recently, and they wanted to know what types of training and morale events I want to do. And honestly, I was caught off guard a little bit since I've never done any of those on my previous team, specifically training and morale, right? So I kind of latched onto the morale thing, the whole team building thing, and the short answer is uh, anything with food. That's my answer. My experience, and I've been in IT what 30 some years, 25 plus years, something like that, and every single time that someone just puts food in the equation, and I have just now I just brought back to present memory, visual memories of sitting around different tables when I was with people, um, and usually it would once a month, once every 2 months or something. There was a certain amount of budget. We would all just eat, and they would hit the bill for us. We could get like one beer. We couldn't go crazy on that. Actually, no, we had to buy our own alcohol. That was it. We had to buy our own alcohol, but I didn't buy any alcohol because I was Mormon. Now that I remember, yeah, because but anyway, they paid for the bill. We just get around, and I remember going to the boss. I was like, "Is that okay?" Yeah, that's fine. And they was like, so he spent his whole budget just on having us all sit around. I don't remember who it was, what kind of restaurant it was, but it was a decent restaurant. It wasn't a dive or anything. And we just ate. And we just shot the breeze. We just talked about it. It was just a really, really great, great, great memory. And so that's the short answer. If you're trying to find a team building activity, you don't need a bunch of crazy ass, multicolor, hermetically sealed happy town, to quote Silicon Valley. That's Guilfoyle's words. You don't need that to have a good team building activity. Honestly, you don't need the silliest team building I ever went on was for Nike. They arranged for us to go on a fishing trip off the coast of Astoria. So we had to drive like 3 hours in this like bus, and then we had to go out on this boat, and we were like trying to catch fish, and there were like dead crappie fish like all over the place, and it was just, and we got all this free fish that we were able to take home with us for free. And looking back, and I'm like, somebody spent money for us to do that, and it was not fun. We had people that were sick. We had people that were puking. We had two that were making out in the cabin down. It was so bad. It was so bad, and yet they had to go overboard. Like, this is what you do for team. You know what? They could have spent like 1/5 of the money on that trip and just sent us more regularly to a place to just eat together and relax with each other, with food, and it would have been better. So it's not the big a deal. But the reason I wanted to make a video about this is because somebody actually asked me a question about, well, what do you think about being fully remote? And I actually have a story about this, and this is not a happy story, unfortunately. So it is kind of interesting, though. So, what about being remote? So obviously, with the COVID thing, I've been working remote since 1990. I want to say 97, 98. There was 3 years in there. I was at Nike where I was not remote, and but yeah, but all the time at IBM and everything, I was always remote. Now I want to tell you two stories. One of them that was awesome, and one of them that was an absolute fail. Um, and I don't know which one to tell you first. I'll tell you the fail first, and I'll tell you the awesome one. Okay. So the fail was the second to last manager that I had refused to spend a dime on team building activities. Our team was falling apart. The a couple of managers before that, we actually had to actively advocate to remove a person from the team because it was actually harming our team. Morale was in the toilet. We were 100% remote. We were working nasty ass hours because we were all salaried. We didn't know each other. We never even seen each other's faces. And there was political stuff going on and fights about whether we could use K-shell parentheses or not. All kinds of shit was going down, and the team just, we were all, and then we had, QA dynamics. The people on the QA team were sending us back our code because it wasn't good enough or whatever. And then there was that dynamics. It was already a stressful relationship. And this manager did nothing about it. Nothing. He just let it fester. He just let it fester, and he let it kept getting bad and bad. And it went into, yeah, it went into like whether we could use K-Show or POSIX, because we were told we could only use POSIX. We get Alan Stock giving me stuff about that. So I mean, there were just tiny little derisions that were in a team that were just really whittling it away. Um, and what's really ironic about that is in the midst of all of that, the people who stuck together were the people who had been bonded in previous teams. So the two or three people that I would consider lifelong friends from the team that previously got combined with this other team that I bonded very closely with, we actually came together, and this is my idea. I said, look, I said, I'm going to use his name, Ron. I said, Ron, our team is, the dynamic of our team is kind of suffering right now. And I feel like, maybe we could benefit from, something to work on here. And so they decided, I mean, we're talking about a manager who actually told a vice president who asked for my personal assistance that he couldn't spare me from the team. So we didn't have a good relationship. The guy actively blocked my career at many different points in my career, and it's the worst manager I've ever had. And that's all I can say about that. But so I called him and I said, look, this team is, we've got some problems here. I said, what would you think if I, on my own bill, if I paid to fly down to Texas, to Austin, and to meet y'all, would you be okay with that, giving us that time off so we could come visit you and everything? And I said, the other guys, Gary and Steve, I'm not doxing you if you're out there. I said, Gary and Steve, who I was very close with, we said, yeah, we've all agreed that we're willing to pay on our own bail to come see you, but we really feel like it would benefit our team for you to meet us. This is a manager who has never met us, who had previous relations with, kind of work relations with some of the other people on the team. And you could tell because there was some political, stuff going on. Anyway, so we said, hey, we'd love to come meet you guys. And we just feel like this would help, patch up the relations and everything. And you know what his first thing he said was? This is the negative one, and I'll tell a positive story after this. You know what he said? He said, okay, but I'm only paying for dinner. Those are his exact words. He didn't have, he's this fucking, traditional Texas asshole who, those were his words. Those are his exact words. And I try to keep it together, and I like, fine, okay. And I was like, cause I mean, I liked my team and I felt like we were doing well. And it wasn't that I didn't like the people that I was working with. It was that we never had seen each other. It was like, those are just this is not hyperbole. That's exactly what he said. And I don't know why. I mean, people have budgets for different things. And the thing is the exact same company, other managers I had were the same places where I had these wonderful meals and stuff. And I'm going to get to one of those positive stories after this. So we paid our own dime. It cost me in lodging and air flight. It probably cost me about $600-700. I paid out of my fucking pocket to go meet my own team. And we went and sat down for this like cheap ass dinner that was just, it was so awkward because he didn't arrange anything. He had no idea how to create some social, break some social tension. So what did he do? He said, okay, we're having dinner now, right? And so we had never even hardly seen each other. And he sticks us all in a room together, sitting next to each other. Oh, who are you? Well, it was so fucking awkward. It was horrible. It was horrible. And he did give us a tour of the facilities, and he walks us around and goes, this is where so-and-so has their office. This is where so-and-so has their office. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Oh, hey, there's where they have their office. And everybody was all sterile and shaking hands and everything. And it was really clear from that, actually, that this manager had fostered that team dynamic, because when you're with them in person, it was thick. It was palpable. It was like, No, this is how he likes it. This is how this Texas manager likes it. He likes it like really official and everybody's sequestered away in their own non-cubicle, offices and everything. And everybody just keeps their nose clean and they don't come out for air unless, there's no like extra stuff going on. I don't know the full dynamic. Maybe somebody responded to that, but boy, we sure didn't. And there's a few people that he really loved. He really loved a couple people that just were kiss asses. They just totally kissed his ass all the time. And so he had built this team, and now we were all stuck in that team. And we had come from a very organic team. My friends that paid to go down there, and one of them is one of the guys who almost put his hand through the wall during a design meeting. Because we were so comfortable with each other that we would argue about stuff, and but we were fantastic friends, I kind of miss him right now, actually thinking about him. Yeah, getting a little bit glad because I miss him, but they, but why did I have such a strong relationship with those people, and why couldn't I have figured out how to do this relationship? So I'm sitting down and we're eating, this dinner, and out of nowhere, one of the guys that's there, who was kind of the promoted to be the team leader and stuff, project leader, was like, "So what about, when he asked me, what about Second Life? How does that going?" And this was literally the first thing that he had asked me. And the vice president that asked me to work on their project was from the IBM Second Life project. And I was officially approved to work on that project through those handles. But because I had been working on it as well as other things, it created this dynamic that was really horrible. And this asshole decided to ask about that very first. That was like the first thing he brought up. And after that time, Second Life had shut down. IBM closed all 50 sims and closed everything down and decided they weren't going to do anything with it. And that was the first topic he decided to bring up. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try really hard here. And I did. I tried really, really, really hard to make it with those people, but it wasn't successful. It wasn't. In other news, that was my first one night stand. While I was in Austin, we went paddleboarding, and I met a girl on the water, and I had been divorced recently. And the other guys are like, "Go for it, dude." And so we had dinner, and that's a different story completely. So, this is a crazy ass story. I'm not going to tell right now, but, so let me tell you, so how is that incurable disease going around? So I don't know if that was like a universal, like thing. It was literally the first one ever. And part of it was we crashed. We just went dancing all over, and we actually crashed we actually crashed a bridal shower, and I went out on the dance floor, and she was sitting there drinking, and anyway, it was fun. It was a fun night. So there's a consolation prize, but that's not the good story. There's actually a better story that's more appropriate. I actually, so there was this, so when I first I got on this team. There was a manager who had permission and money to pick the elite from all of the systems administration group and put them together in a team, an innovative team, if whatever, to build this thing called virtual server administrator. And their first act, this guy ended up making it into VP and a whole bunch of stuff because he knew. His name was Larry, and he, it was just funny because I know Dennis hates the name Larry, and it wasn't the same Larry, in case you're wondering. His first act to bringing us together was flying every one of us into Boulder. He flew all of us into Boulder, and we had a full week together on their dime, eating at Moe's every day, planning and designing this system that we were asked to build. And I get giddy every time I think about it, because the level of energy that was in the room, and I was a new person on the team, and I would like raise my hand and it's like, okay, maybe we should use unique identifiers for our hosts instead of host names because host names change. And they're like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. I'm like, yeah, it is, huh? I mean, I was like really nervous because I was new to the team, and everything. And I like pull up another idea. And by the end of it, I actually diagrammed out the whole thing. And we went to Kinko's and printed it out and put it up on the walls and everything. And it was like, It was so much positive energy, lots of good positive energy, good positive food. We had arguments like crazy, but the first day was we all got kind of used to each other on the first day. And then and again, the first activity, that first day, we got together, we met each other, kind of went around the room, and it was awkward for that moment. And then we went to Moe's and we got to know each other. We got to talk each other. We had, I remember Eric telling me, Eric is from Boulder, and he's like, I never heard of South Park before. And he goes, "Oh, you're Mormon. You ever watch South Park?" And it's just all kinds of weird things like that. And I never eaten at Moe's ever, and I felt so guilty because I was having so much fun. I actually wrote back to my wife at the time. I called her. I just want you to know that I'm spending every second of my time, my free time, working hard because I feel so guilty because I'm having so much fun up here. And I was working the whole time. We were working crazy. That week, I'm going to tell you something. That week created lifelong friendships with those team members, which persisted a good 10 years after that. And those two guys who were giving me shit about my one night stand, and I actually turned on my Google thing so they could track me because we were all afraid that, because I got pretty drunk and everything. But anyway, we were like watching for each other's back and everything. He took my guitar. These friends of mine who I also worked with, that happened because of that team building activity. And it happened because of a brilliant manager who knew that all they had to do was foot the bill for a week of us together and pay for the food, and that would persist throughout the rest of our work together. And it did. We never once had to come together after that. Now, we talked about doing it. We talked about maybe doing one. There were times when it got a little bit tougher than that. But I worked with that team and those people on that team for like 5 to 6 years after that. And I could every time I talked to one of them, I could remember them. I could see their face. I knew who they were. I knew what their mannerisms were. I knew how to treat them versus some of the others. I could get it all because I had actually had a human connection with them. So what I'm getting at is, if you want your team to succeed, get them to meet each other and eat together as soon as possible. And you don't have to get crazy with some hiking activity or ski trip or something. If you want to foot the bill for that, fine. Mostly you just need food and time together and food. And if you can make that happen and combine the act of creation, which is like what we were doing, there's no way you can't bond with people that you're building something with. I mean, you're going to have disagreements and stuff, but ultimately the act of creating all that stuff together, along with all the food and the good times and talking, you're going to bond with them. So that's the way to do it, in my opinion. And I've seen that happen a lot. I've seen that happen to Skill Stack with people that I called them my pros. They're young, but we would get together and we would rethink how to do the internet. And we were so excited, and we were all eating together. And I think one of the magical things about Skill Stack that persisted beyond me moving to live streaming was the fact that we built this real camaraderie. We played computer games together. We did other things like that. So I would say, what about being remote? I think for being remote, I would say consider bringing everybody together once. And if you look at once or twice, if you look at the extreme success of GitLab, which is 100% remote, this is what they do. Not only do they do this, they do it over 9,000. They find some place, because they're all over the world. GitLab is a really good example of this. Does it right. So GitLab creates, you can go watch the video on this. GitLab creates, they have a team that organizes their meetup once a year, and they go to these phenomenally amazing places in the world, and everybody gets flown in. Everybody gets flown in, and then they have these huge conferences. It's all paid. It's like what I just told you about, the flying back to Boulder, over 9,000. They're there for a full week. They fill them full of swag. They like rah, go GitLab, and they show them all the new stuff and everything. And then they come back. Okay. So, interesting. So my point is that, is to be, flexible, and to get food into them, and to get them working together, get them doing things so they can actually make a personal connection, so that when they're, and I'll tell you something, my current, manager has asked that we put, our faces on our stuff in Slack and stuff. And I think you should do that. I think you should put faces and stuff in your avatars. And um, and I don't know if you've seen it, but my really super silly gnome hat, avatar that I use everywhere. I do that on purpose because people are so stuffy in their pictures. I That's my personality. Maybe somebody's stuffy, and but the point is, it's not enough. I mean, it's close to that, but I think one of the reasons that I'm able, even with the live stream here, to pursue relationships here and build those is because we're kind of talking to each other one on one. And I will say this though, just video conferencing is not enough. It is not enough. I'm going to put this here. Just video conferencing, I don't know why, is not enough. I don't know why, people. Someone can explain this to me. I have a feeling it has to do with the sense of presence. I think there's actually something physical that goes on when you're in the presence of another human being, as opposed to just looking at them on the screen. And actually was big into Second Life, which has spatial. It does trigger being around another person's avatar, creates more of a sense of association than just seeing their face in like a window. In fact, we tried. Did you offend me? It's okay. You got hammered. It, you didn't offend me. Oh my god, I gotta read your thing. Wait. Positive energy goes to great results most times. Yes. And then Dimmer says, agreed. I had lots of great teams bonding experiences. Most of them weren't intended for long-term bonding. Right. One time my team and I got hammered to Kalima to Santa Clara and Moon to Sun Microsystems. That's hilarious. You didn't offend me. No, at all. Hey, there's Greg. Because people can't break off into groups and then interact with other groups as you overhear things. Right. Getting hammered is hands down the best team building, no question. Dude, I imagine you'd bring like the empanadas, right? Greg's talked about that before. He makes empanadas every year for his family. I want one, man. I want some. So seriously, I think it's food. If you want to put beer, anything with food, and beer, okay. So Nike, I kid you not. I don't know about Nike's team building activities, but Nike would have these. Nike had a thing called Thirst Thursday. Every Thursday, out on the thing, everybody would get hammered. They actually did it too much, and Nike was kind of inbred. There was like everybody was sleeping with everybody. It's probably still that way. Sorry if you work for Nike, you can let us know. But seriously, it was always about like that person is sleeping with that one, and that person is their son from this generation over here. It's because they do it too much. I mean, Nike's the only company I've ever been to where we went into a team building. And by the way, oh my God, talking about team building activities, they would put on the big screen, they would put their latest Wyden and Kennedy ad up for everybody to watch. And at the door, they would hand champagne to you while you walked into the door. So they literally got everybody liquored up while they were getting ready to sit into their huge team building rah meeting. It's kind of like a Steve Jobs meeting, but with booze. That's Nike. Whatever. So I don't think you need to go that far. I think you could, just do it by having people be together. I'd like to comment. I always have lunch with some old coworkers once a week to check up. Those people helped me when I was part of the mass layoff. Yeah, my previous position. Last month by calling connections to different organizations within the company. Absolutely. The IBM job I got because the guy that got recruited in, he told the recruiter, hey, go call this guy. I had an interview the next day. Boom. So I'm talking about, you just can't underestimate that network. You really can't. You have to build it and you have to maintain. You don't have to. If it's not natural, don't force it, right? My best friends play chess with him every day over lunch, and we would just eat our lunch together and have chess, play chess, and he would teach me Solaris, and I would teach him Linux. He didn't learn Linux at all, and it was one of my lifetime memories. So I think there are ways to do it. The danger, I think, and I think the school districts are really going through this. The school districts, I'm hearing about people sticking kids in a video room so that they can socialize. And they're just sitting there on their phones like this, because they're being forced to be together. That's not how humans work, people. don't go have a team building activity and everybody do Twister on the first weekend. You know, it's like that's not how it works. You just put people together, let them decide how they're going to mingle, and put food and beer out there and just get out of the way. That's my opinion. That's pretty much it. Any other comments? No, yeah. I think the most Boterius says, I think the most effective team building activity would be to kill someone and bury the body in the woods together. You can't be on my team. The activity will create a very tight cohesion in the group. No doubt it would do that. Probably a bad idea. Should we put that in the list? Probably avoid murder together. I'm sure murder is a team building activity. I'm sure that's a fantastic team. We're not suitable for work people. I'm sorry. It's just how I am. We're talking about work team building. I'm like, don't murder your boss. It's a bad team building activity. One night stands and murder and beer. There you go. Happy team building. No, I'm joking, obviously, just in case you're wondering. It's been fun. You'll figure it out. The easiest thing, just get food. Just pay for the check. Just pick up the check. The end. If you want to get really close to them, pick up a check and pay for the alcohol. There you go. Any other comment? No. Let's see. It's inclusive except for the colleague who gets killed. But the others are like really super bonded, so it's worth the sacrifice. Oh my God. It's time for me to shut these people down. I have ruffians in this chat. There's ruffians in this chat with me right now. But that's good. All right, bye.